Hey guys, Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. Currently out in the shop working on laying some frame for my rat rod that I'm submitting for the Rat Rod Magazine Build-Off 2024. But right now, let me introduce this week's video on the struggle bus. We are going to finish out the exhaust and then get set up or prepped for doing next week's video where we complete it with the gauge install, finishing up the wiring, finishing the fuel pump, and getting that thing out of here. But for now, I hope you enjoy this week's video. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. So what we got to do, I've removed the existing shifter, the stock one, and we're going to make a plate that fits in this location. Probably just use some paper, trace it out, rub it out with some crayon or something, and get all of this marked, and I'll just make a square plate. And that's just going to let me bolt this one basically right there on the other plate and just get it into a good position. I'm basically just working to center it where the old shifter went, just so that we can reuse all of the existing holes. I'll run the cable out through the existing hole in the firewall. May even cut the grommet off of the cable that he gave me, or I don't know if the other one has it on it. I may grab it. I don't think it was there, but if we can get that one, get one of the grommets in there to go around this cable, that would be great. And then this will be bolted to the plate here. We'll seal it up. And then we've got to make a plate to bolt to this shifter right here, those two holes, so that this can sit here like that. And this, I have been told, is an unused, brand new, never been used hip joint. It's a replacement hip joint, and yeah, so looks like it hasn't been used. Man, I hope so. That'd be disgusting. But at any rate, that's what our plan is. So let me get, all right, let's see if I can do this with everything in my way. Basically, I just need to go around and get the outer edge. So I know how big to make that plate. Oh, what happened to my light? Sorry, it just got dark in here because my flashlight turned off. Battery went dead. We have a lot of problems with batteries lately. I don't know why. Alright, well that gives us a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. Now I just need to go cut this out, transfer it to some metal, and then we should be able to make us a plate the correct size. All right, guys, I'm underneath the XJ. We're working on getting the transmission side of the cable hooked up. Right here, we've got our park reverse neutral safety switch. This is the stock one to the 350. Right here's our linkage. It was in park. I know this just because of the gap between the last gear. Park's got a big gap. The rest of them are all pretty tight. So we'll remove these, and then we'll take this bracket here. It goes on to two of the bolts for the pan. It's got some spacers that go between it, and bolts that up, and then we'll bolt the cable up. But I'll show you more as we go. Okay, everything's connected. I didn't think about it when we were talking before, but where the reverse neutral safety switch was, this linkage bracket comes with the mounts to utilize them holes. So I went ahead and just did that. Makes it easier. Of course, that also means that when I take this off, I'm gonna have to remove it here in a bit because I've got to change the fluid, and the only way to do that is to remove the pan. I didn't think about that. But as far as the rest of it, once the bracket's up there, you just connect the cable. There's a couple of bolts over, or not bolts, but jam nuts over here. There's a slot on the back side. And then with everything in park, with the lever tightened down, you just adjust this until that screw there just slips right into the hole without any finagling. Once that adjustment's done, just tighten everything up. I got to tighten my jam nut up, and we're done underneath here. At least until it's time to change all the fluids. Whoops. Good. Dropped you. Okay. So we've got the center console. This part is where the shifter sits. And what I want to do, this is the decorative ring. And I want it to sit right up in here. It's not going to be perfect. There's a couple of little edges that are going to probably show, but you really won't be able to see it because the boot and everything's going to be in there. They'll be in the dark. I really don't think you're going to see much of it, but we're going to put it like that. Underneath is this ring, and this needs to sit like that, and I want it to sit flush. So I'm going to use my oscillating tool, and I'm going to go along and I'm going to cut that lip off flush with the underside of this console. And going to try to take my time with it and hopefully not screw it up. But if I can get that cut off nice and neat, then we'll be able to sandwich these two rings with the boot between them, and it'll cover everything up and should be secure and not give us any trouble. So let's see if we can get this done. Shut you off because the audio had to have been absolutely horrible with that buzz of that thing. It's rough on me. I can't imagine what it's like on the video. You probably won't hear it because I'll cut it out, but at any rate, so this fits quite nicely. There's my bottom, and it's just going to be pushed up against the side. Now when I flip it over, you can see I got some of the holes exposed and some are not. So I'm going to put the screws in the ones that are exposed, and we'll clamp those down. And then I'll use that as a guide to drill the rest of them. And then it's going to be a matter of, then I'll take a look and see if I need to support this plastic with these legs, and see if we just need some spacers and long bolts, my favorite, self-tappers, or if I need something else. So let's go take a look at that after we get this mounted. All right, as you can see, we're back in the vehicle. I got the base of the center console down. For this, there's a connection here and a connection here that keep this front end kind of steady. And what I think I'm going to do is just make me a couple of quick Z brackets out of some thin material, and yep, we'll use some self-tappers and run them right down to the base plate there, connect them, and then we'll just run some other self-tappers through here. That'll solidify this. I imagine we're going to have the boot right here, it will go down and over the shifter and into place. I got to remember to push this over a little bit. And then the shifter will work. It doesn't move. This part stays stationary. It doesn't matter where this is at. This stays stationary. The only thing that moves is this part, and it only moves, I can't do it with this short a throw, but this end just moves over a little bit to release it from the gate so that you can push it back and forth. I do have to put in the neutral safety switches and all that still, the neutral and the reverse. They go in here. So I do have to connect them yet. Hopefully there's enough room. I need to double check that, see if there's enough room in there for those. If not, I might need to figure something else out. But we'll get on that. And then I do need to bend one of these tabs down inside. It's hitting the frame. So that's kind of pushing stuff around. And I don't have the connections. I cut the connections off. They used to fit inside here that kept this black piece down. So we might have to run some screws right up in here. If we use some black-headed ones, I don't think it'll look that bad. If that's the only real sacrifice we have to make, it probably won't be a horrible deal. Otherwise, all the other screws holes line up, and it should fit in there pretty much just like stock. We can see just a little bit of a gap here and a little bit of a gap there. Not much I could do with that since it was a square hole and these have rounded edges. But otherwise, it's fitting in quite nicely. All right, guys. Working on the shifter still. I about got it wrapped up. Just need to finish a couple of minor details and we'll be good to go. I've got the plastics all mounted in. You can see here, just made a couple of quick and dirty little brackets. There's one there, and used my fastener of choice to zip tie or zip them down. And now I'm working on the shifter handle. As you can see here, we just got to make a little bracket. I'm going to finish weld this up. It's unfortunate I didn't have any stainless steel, so I'm going stainless steel to mild steel. It'll weld just fine. You just have to, it'll rust if you don't put a little paint or something on it. Not a big deal, but would have been nice to have some stainless, make it a little bit neater. But we'll deal with that. Sometimes you just got to go with what you got. And then I've got the switches in there. I've got them wired up. I still got to wire them into the vehicle. We'll get that done here a little bit later. I'm going to finish this out.
Went down to the river, washed my sins away. Pray, 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 and pray for another day. I went down to that river, washed my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank, staring back at me. I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man.
All right, guys, I'm over here trying to get the boot into the shifter stuff, the decorative ring and the base plate. So I'll show you what I'm doing real quick. I clamped it. I stretched the boot first over the base plate, this one, and then I put the decorative ring, top ring, over it. I've got them clamped in the vise and with a pair of vice grips, needle nose with some rubber on them. And now what I want to try to do is going to use me a little awl to try to poke through and mark where the holes are. If I can get a couple of these started, I'll cut them out a little bit bigger so that the screws will go through them. And then I'll be able to just, you know, do a couple of them, finish marking out the rest, get them all cut. That way it'll bolt up pretty easy. And then I should be able to stretch this over the base plate, put the base plate underneath the plastic, put this over the top, finagle it around. It'll take a little bit of work, but I should be able to get all of the screws started that way while this is held in there over the base plate. At least that's the plan. We'll see how that works out. Oops. If I get this done right, it's going to look good. If I screw it up, well, it won't look good. So the shifter came out nice. I just got to bolt it up. So it'll go on there. Gonna look pretty good. Okay, I got myself set up to do the holes. I just got me a piece of stainless. I think this is actually off of a fuel gauge sending unit from a mower, and it failed. I tore it apart. Never know when you're going to need a piece of stainless. Just heating it up, getting it red hot on the ends. Like so. And then I'm making sure I got nothing underneath it other than the table. And that's all you really got to do. It just melts through nice and easy. And that's creating my holes. If it gets cold, just heat it back up. All right, we're going to finish these out, and then we're going to get it bolted up. All right, so shifter's done. At least all the mechanicals of the shifter are done. Everything's done underneath, and everything's done up here in the cockpit. I do need to finish the electrical part of it. We need to get the neutral safety switch connected into the starter circuit, and we need to get the reverse lights hooked up. The reverse lights I'm going to have to find. I don't know where they're at wiring wise, so that'll take a minute to figure out. The starter switch we already know. We just need to connect into our ground switch over there. We need to cut it, loop it around, tie it into the switch, and then run it back out to the ground. That'll complete that circuit. We'll be good to go. Show you real quick what it looks like. So it came out not too bad. A little bit better. Looks fairly professional. And it works. It's a little stiff yet. I've got all of the there's an adjustment on the side for the detents. I've got it adjusted all the way out, so it hopefully as he uses it, it will get easier to use and eventually be real easy. But for now, that's what we got. He may need to tighten that down in the future. We'll see. All right, moving on. All right, I've been avoiding it, but it's time to build the exhaust. I like building exhaust. I've been avoiding it because I don't want to lay on the cold concrete for an extended period of time. Mainly because I'm just being a wuss. But that's beside the point. What you see here is a 2 1/4 16 gauge kit that I bought off of Amazon. The price point was there, and you know, what do you want? Sometimes you just gotta go cheap. It is just straight steel. It is not aluminized or anything like that. It is not stainless. It came with 4 90s, 4 45s, 4 180s, and 4 straight sticks that are 4 foot long. If you were coming off a set of long tubes, really you probably got enough in here to do a full dual exhaust system on at least a shorter vehicle. And if you were dumping out in front of the tires, you could definitely get a full dual system. And probably even get an X. The owner provided a Flowmaster race muffler, 2.5 inch. So I do need to get some adapters to adapt that to the 2 1/4. Even with the swage, these are still not quite the same size as that. They rattle around in there. I could probably work something out if I really want to, but at any rate, we'll get to that here in a bit. To start with, we're going to come off of each one of the headers. We're going to do a 2-into-1 system on the passenger side. So I'll come off the driver header underneath the oil pan. We'll make a turn and go back. We'll come off of the passenger header. We'll go back. We'll put the Y in there at that point, and then we'll go single all the way back. We'll be using a lot of probably the 180s to make the initial turns, because we can cut these at whatever angle we want. We'll be using the 90s to make the turns going around the corners. And then after that, I'll probably end up using one of these to go up and over the axle. But at some point I'll get the dies for my bender. I only have 2 inches, my largest. At some point I'll get a 2 1/4 and 2.5 so I can build my own exhaust. But they're fairly expensive to buy just a die, and I don't build a lot of exhaust, especially not full systems that are this long. Typically it's pretty short on a buggy. And you can buy these pre-made ones fairly cheap. So let's get to it. All right, guys, gonna try to bring you under here and show you what I got going on. So I come off of the driver's side collector, did a pie cut, and then trimmed up one of the 45s. That brought me down and behind the axle tube. I've got a 90. I trimmed the end of it, put it into the swaged end. That's gonna bring me out, headed the right direction, headed towards the rear of the vehicle. Now what I got to do is up in here, kind of hard for y'all to see, but that collector's right there. I got to come down off of it and turn and come up behind this pipe, behind this one. I got to come out behind here, and I want to meet up right back here beside it. I might be able to show you a little better from the other side. Hold on. Let's see if this is any better. All right, you can see the collector. It's right here. I've got to come down, come this way towards you, come down in front of this pipe right here, like over right in this area, so that when I back up, that pipe ends up being right here. From there, I'll make the Y into 1 and go back. But that's our goal. It's going to take a little bit of doing. I think in order to do that, I'm going to start by cutting this at an angle so that it's a little bit flatter, so that I can go that way with it a little easier, or maybe even give me a little angle going that way. I got to take a look at that. I might need to cut a couple of compound angles in that. Might need to angle it, you can't really tell, but might need to angle it this way towards you basically, and so that I can come back before I go to the side. Kind of doing a roll. It's a little bit complicated to explain 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional camera deal, but I'm trying. Okay guys, we are making progress. If you look over here, so we got both pipes pointed the right direction. If you look back up in there, I had to do some pie cut and then whatnot. It's somewhat ugly. If you saw my exhaust build on the Jeepster, then you know, might be seeing a pattern. At any rate, from there to there, outside to outside, I want it to be 6 inches. We're gonna make a Y. So I'll take you out and we'll show you how that's gonna work. Okay. All right, I'm not operating hands-free at the moment, so I already got my line marked out. But to get 6 inches, I just take my square, I come down here, I put it square with the end, I put my 3-inch mark out there, right at the edge, and then if you come down here, that's where your line ends up being. I'll do that to both pipes, because I got 2. And if you can imagine, once they're cut, they'll get welded like this. And that's going to form an end. And then I'll take and saw cut that end, and I'll show you in more detail here in a second. But first, let's get these cut, and then I'll show you how the rest goes. All right, here's the beginnings of my Y. You can see we're 6 inches down here. Now I need to do a little fine tuning, but we'll take and just weld that end like that. Sorry, I'm trying to hold you and point at the same time. And then I'll cut this end off, and we'll have a brown pipe that comes off it, and that'll be our Y. So for now, let me fine tune this. I'll get it tacked together, and then I'll show you the rest. All right, here's my Y. You can see I took the 245s, they're all welded together. Now, this is a piece that I cut off of the 45s. This is one of the other ends, and it's gonna go right in here. Basically like so. We'll take the marker, and I'll mark all the way around it, and we'll cut that end off so that we can get air from here into there. And then I'll probably cut in some chamfer on the edges of this where it lines up to let that sit in a little bit deeper. Maybe even ovalize it just a little bit, put it in the vise, make it a little bit wider, and then we'll weld all that together, and we'll have our Y. Easy peasy. All right, guys, we're back out here. When I left yesterday, I was just finishing up getting the first part of the exhaust together. I've now finished welded it, and wanted to show you real quick what we got. So be careful I don't grab a hot spot. Driver side, passenger side, come down, we loop around, goes to our Y. So what I'm going to do is going to mount this up underneath. We're going to build off from here. I'm not going to weld this portion, but then the next section will go up and go back. I'm not super happy with the welding on it. I don't know, I always struggle with the thinner metals. End up being a better grinder than I do a welder with it. For some reason, I'm either cold on my welds or it's hot and it burns right through. And that's with all the same settings, and you know, I tried moving fast, moving slow, spot welding it, friggin' just, I don't know. It's frustrating. All these years I've been at it, and for some reason I can turn out a decent weld and then I can't, and it just, whatever. At any rate, it's together. It ain't gonna fall apart. It ain't pretty. I ain't gonna hide it either. It is what it is. It'll look good wrapped though. But at any rate, it's time to stick this in the vehicle, start building the next section. What's up, guys? I am kind of dead in the water. Power's out. So no saws, no welder, all that stuff's out. I don't know when it's going to be back up, but kind of limited now on what I can do. So I figured I'll get under here and drain the tranny and replace the filter, get it refilled. I need to do that before I put the exhaust in anyways. And then, I don't know, I might be done for the day. We'll see. I guess I can still work on figuring out the wiring for the fuel pump, or not the fuel pump, but the neutral safety switch and the backup lights. All right, guys, I got the transmission pan down. The fluid itself doesn't smell bad, but there's definitely some stuff in the pan. As you can see here, we got some fuzzies on the magnets. Looks like there's a little bit of water in it too. Now the water's not a real surprise. The transmission was sitting and it wasn't completely closed. I don't know. The fluid, somebody could have easily just changed it. There's quite a bit in there though. Otherwise, we'll clean it up and we'll see what we get. Hopefully it holds together. Alright guys, so we got everything. The Y pipe is all in. That's this piece here. It's all bolted down, solid. Everything is finished welded. We can leave it alone. So now I need to go from here, I need to go up and over this and then back to the back. So I'm going to come out, I'm going to go up, over, and to do that I'm going to cut up one of the 180s so that we can make that move. May also need to roll it a little bit, which will be easy since we can just roll this around however we want. And then I'm just going to be using a clamp on this end so that we can it can be dismantled if need be. If he needs to take this part out, he can do so and separate it from the rest of the rig. I also need to make sure not to get my turn up too close to this so that it can be pulled back out of here. So I need to make it pretty short. I need to have the turn up come in here. I'll show it in more detail once I get it basically cut and made. Okay, so I got the pieces cut. I'll show you what I took out. I took out this section. It went something like that. Get rid of that. And now I got my jog. Fits pretty tight. So I'll go weld this up. At any rate, I'll weld this up like so. Hopefully I can make it look halfway decent and not all crappy. And then we'll cut this end off and get it installed and move on to the next one. All right. We have everything on the exhaust is built. Ain't all the greatest, but it's definitely gonna work. I did figure some stuff out with my welding. One, I've always kind of known this. My welder that I have, the way I have it set up is really too big for this thin of metal. My welder's meant for really big gauge in its current configuration. I got 035 wire on there, 400 amp gun, all of this other stuff. And I really should have like 0.23 wire and a smaller gun if I could go, but at least using some smaller wire will help me get down in those lower amperages and do a little bit better with the heat. Quit blowing through and whatnot. But all that's beside the point. The last piece of the puzzle sitting here. This goes in the tail end of things. I'm not going to walk around with you too much. I know it probably makes everybody seasick. But to swing you around, this is the amount of pipe that I have left. I got 190, 2 180s, and 2 straight pieces. Really, I don't know. I question that I could have done a full dual exhaust with it. I probably would have needed another couple of 90s or 45s, you know, a couple more bends, you know, getting up and over the double hump or getting over the axle twice and getting around some of the other stuff underneath would have just eaten up some of those bends more than I have. I do have a couple of pieces inside. I'm going to take you in to show you them that we had left over. For the most part, not much. That's pretty good. We really only have one long piece. I guess that's almost half a stick of straight. And then here's about half of a 180. But the rest of that'll all go in the trash. But I can take you over. We'll take you underneath. I'll show you that last piece. I do need to get some clamps. I need 3 clamps. I did make this come apart in 3 sections. But I need 1 hanger. I guess I need to finish it with 2 hangers and the clamps. So yeah, 3 clamps, and I do need to install another hanger, which I got to cut off the old exhaust. But I'm running out of time. I got enough time to show you this, and then I got to get out. All right, having to hold it with my hand. Things are moving around a little bit, but it just tucks up real nice right there. Just a little bit of a turn down, and then goes down and up and over. And then on the other side, we just have straight shot, as you've seen before. So, walk with me for a minute. All right, so we started the week out doing my list. drive shaft is at the shop. It's on order. Ought to be here next week. Shifter is done. The kickdown is done. Carb adapter is done. Fuel pump we still got to get into. Fuel regulator is done. Gauges I still need to get into. And exhaust is done. The only other thing I can think of is we need to do some tidy up. I need to go around, make sure that everything's tight. Fluids are done. Oh yeah, we changed fluid in the tranny as well. So, should be able to wrap up most of this on Monday. Of course, the big question is where's our compression at? Well, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to wait until next week. I know, I'm a jerk. Call me all the names you want. Comment, tell me how bad I am. But if you've made it this far, you can watch next week's video and see how it does. Have a good one. We'll sign out for now.